So, job scams are stealing your passwords, believe it or not. It's happening to you right now if you're not careful and you don't have safeguards in place. I just want to be sure to introduce myself. This is Mark Anthony Dyson of the Job Scam Report. You can find the video on YouTube, of course, but you can also find the podcast on YouTube Music, Spotify, Apple Music, and of course, Substack. That is where the home is for the Job Scam Report, markanthonydyson.substack.com. So here we're going to cover the basics of passwords. And let me give you some things that can apply to really all situations, not just job scams, but financial information as well. First of all, you never give your passwords to anyone. You always want to use a password manager and always use an MFA, which is a multi-factor authentication in all circumstances. And you also want to be a critical thinker. You want to lead with skepticism and analyze the credibility of job offers, websites, and communications to discern between legitimate opportunities and fraudulent schemes. You want to also verify the authenticity of job posts, assess the reliability of sources and resources, and contribute to protecting personal information and financial security. Now, community does help, especially online. If you're on LinkedIn, especially if you ask in public posts if something looks like a scam or has anybody seen this, or if you want to give a warning to something that you've seen. That really does help the community at large be at alert. And also other people will chime in their experience as well, which could be intel for you to avoid job scams. Bringing attention to potential job scams in public seems to deter scammers. So it's really a good strategy. In a landscape rife with deception, thinking critically is a vital tool for defending against scams. I'll break down each of these by discussing how schemes work. I'll focus on the first three. The first one that you want to be focusing on is fake job posts. Now, this one could be a little tricky because it becomes a little dicey, especially when something looks pretty close to the real thing but isn't. And it has tricked people who are even solid in noticing content that just seems a little crazy. I want to be sure that you are getting the best of this information and noticing the clues. One thing you'll notice when you look at fake job application portals is one of the sites and how it works. They'll send you a link to a professional looking career site or a secure application form that mimics a real company's job portal. Now, the background scenario is that the site probably scraped the real site, knowing that most people don't look for the full breadth of content. Although much of it appears bare, there is enough gain a victim's trust. For instance, to explain a little bit further, a real startup is not going to have as much content on their site as a company like Microsoft or Google or any of those that have been around for a long time and they have tons of content. A startup is not going to have as much. So if a scammer decides to use a small startup as a way to lure people to their schemes, it's going to be hard to trust. And you want to be ready because the idea that they are scraping content, again, they don't have the full breadth of content that's there. They want to do just enough to get the victim's trust. Their goal is to prompt you to log in using an email password. And if you reuse that password for your bank or PayPal, they've got a direct entry point. You think it's easy to reuse passwords, and most people do, but it is exactly when you should. I hope you never get this far in the conversation with a scammer or interaction because the further you're in, the more likely you'll want to quit or back out. Now, a clue, other than the ones that I gave you as well, is his URL is slightly spelled, odd subdomains. It might say careers dash company name dash Gmail sometimes or XYZ. or something that's really uncommon, or the page doesn't exist on company's real site. It's like parking in your town with stores, barbershops, and bars, but no one's around either inside or out. People often commented that something feels off, and that's when you should start to disengage. Now, how it works, they send you a link to a professional looking site. And, again, when they do that, they are looking to lure you in to get your information. They're tracking how you're putting in your password. They're making it seem like that you're really engaged, and all of it's kind of make it easy. But the first thing they ask you for is financial information, personal information, even your history, your salary history, and your work history is even useful to validate what the scammers really want. And that's just to make it seem like they're you. They want to posture you. So you want to avoid that. Number two, malicious attachments. And how they generally work is you're sent a PDF or a Word document labeled job application, offer letter, or job description containing malware. I had someone on my team years ago who opened a malware PDF and infected the whole entire network. There was time, money loss, and it's an old trick, but it's an effective one because someone will always open the attachment from a stranger in a group of people. Their goal, it unlocks the malware that they would be able to put very discreetly on your keyboard. Of course, your keystrokes, capture passwords, or installs a remote access tool. They're trying to get your personal information to create a financial coup. Now, clues would be, and for you to notice, is the file will ask you to enable macros or to allow content which can execute hidden malicious code. Macros are many programs, in case you don't know, there are many programs embedded with files like Word documents or Excel spreadsheets. In this case, it's job applications. They want you to open a job application, fill it out, and send it back to them, not only with just your personal information, but also they'll be able to track some things that you do after you send the application. However, cyber criminals can exploit this feature to embed and execute malicious code. And that's kind of the tracking information I was talking about. 3, phishing emails. How it works. Poses as a recruiter or HR manager who needs you to verify your account before an interview. The link leads to a fake login page for your email, bank, or payment processor. Alternatively, they may instruct you to visit their WhatsApp page or Zoom or Microsoft Meeting Teams portal to interact with them via message. They will try to get your personal information. Their goal is generally just to steal your credentials, more of the same. You might want to notice how it's all set up. It kind of feels funny when they're asking you some questions about your financial information and you're getting texts back, or they're encouraging you to send them information without them kind of being forthright and telling you about the company, how long it's there. It should be a conversation at first, but it ends up not being one. So that's where it gets a little weird. And again, that's where some people say it feels a little off. Clues very often is not only just the conversation seems a little weird, but their tone, like they're only filling 5 positions, or we're trying to get this done right away and start immediately, or generic greetings, mismatched email addresses. You may have an email address that says one thing. You may say Gmail, which again should be a company email, or if they're using a company, it's misspelled. And again, most of the time they tend to use an actual company to get you lured in, and they'll just misspell it slightly. And if you don't know the misspelling, you could be misled down the road. They will make it seem like these are exceptional hiring circumstances in case you start asking questions. So if you're feeling desperate, you're likely seeking financial relief or validation of rewards, you're a likely candidate to be scammed. Now, in the article I wrote on Substack, I write about 4 others that you should try to keep an eye on: direct deposit slip setup scams, fake background check or credit report links, report or better yet, work from home equipment purchase requests, social media DMs with job offers. So I hope you catch the spirit of what I offered in these other ways and carry to all your online activity. I want you to always clarify, verify, but don't just apply. Make it your mantra, because not questioning everything will only make things worse, especially when you're prioritizing protection of your personal information. I think it's important for you to provide the right context and environment for your children to learn to question everything. My wife and I were real intentional in teaching our boys, who are young men now, to question everything that feels a little bit off or doesn't seem right. So ultimately, I want you to job search safely and strategically. Thanks so much for watching the Job Scam Report podcast or the video. And you can find the show on YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Substack, and other podcast directories. Otherwise, have a great week.